Hey, what's up, fam? Episodes 3 and 4 of Goblin Slayer can really be summarized up and brought in together with kind of like two words, and that is camaraderie and dedication. With the episode 3, with each episode, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about, and that's why I decided to kind of like bundle them together into a review of two episodes at the same time. Now, episode 3 mainly consisted of the lizard shaman, dwarf monk, and elf archer all showing up, and they want to meet the goblin slayer, to become friends with him, add him to their crew, and they end up going on a mission with him. And this is where the episode it mostly is about them kind of talking and interacting, like they're sharing food and stories. You get to see like, oh, that it, a lot of nice there's a lot of nice comfort and like slice of life, like just gentle moments in between, like anytime they go into like a battle with goblins. That's one of the things I really like about the series is when there's not all the the troubles that goblins have and the violence. It's just like characters, and they're hanging out, they're meeting each other. You get to see the elf chick get completely smashed on like a sip of dwarven wine and stuff. You get to see the goblin slayer just like he's like when they're all like sharing things, and he's just like, oh yeah, I got some cheese. And you see a giant lizard guy just in bliss because he's never eaten like cooked cheese before. There's a lot of nice things. Even the even the elf girl like jostling up the goblin slayer's helmet, and getting all cute like that with him. It's it just gives off a little bit more of like a real vibe to him, and you get to see him like swap stories. And actually, I like the part where the goblin slayer talks about how there's like a folk tale of goblins coming from their green moon, and the reason why they're so angry and like mean and vicious is because they're jealous, because it's just they're from a place where it's just all like dark cold rock, and they're mad about the things they don't have. And that kind of just one of those like small bits that really add to the world, but kind of add to uh one of the reasons goblins are scum. Goblins are awful. So anyway, it's just really what you got with episode 3. It was mostly just nice, nice character interactions and build up for episode 4. Episode 4, we get into it, and you see the elf chick like seeing the goblin slayer when he gets like goblin blood and gore and like on a rag, and he's like, yeah, we gotta hide our smells. It's just, and, it's logical, it makes sense, we need to do it. And priestess chick's just like, yeah, we gotta do it. The elf chick's just freaking out, just doesn't know what to do. They end up going in, combining silence and stupor to make it so the goblins like pretty much just stay in like a deep sleep without making any sounds or causing any problems, and they just go up and start like just right at point blank slaughtering all the goblins, to where the elf chick is just like appalled that the goblin slayer's been doing this by himself for so long. Right when they think that things are kind of getting better, out steps an ogre that's been in there with all these goblins, and the response is golden to goblin search. It's like, wait, this isn't a goblin. Hey guys, this isn't a goblin. What are we gonna do about it? Like, this isn't a goblin. I don't see a reason to do anything with this guy. He's not a goblin. I'm looking at my maps and I'm looking at the the biology of him. He is not a goblin. But the ogre kind of gets annoyed by that. He starts going on his rant based on how he is like granted power from one of the demon lord's generals, and you see like him smacking people around. The goblin slayer almost gets like completely wrecked by one of his attacks, but luckily priestess chick, she first off, she uses her double protection spells and stops like the dude's like giant fireball attack, and then goes over to help the goblin slayer while everyone else is doing their part keeping the ogre distracted. And she gives him a health and stamina scroll. And then while the goblin slayer, is walking towards the ogre who's preparing like a giant fire, pulls out his gate scroll that he got, they talked about in episode 3, and then he pulled it out and used it here, and it completely just slaughters the ogre, because it is linked to the bottom of the ocean, so it's got the pressure of the very deepest parts of the sea slicing him like an aquatic blade that would cut diamonds. I always liked that part. I thought it was really cool. And that's what I was talking about with dedication is when you have an item which they kind of bring up it. Most people when they would ever have one of those, it's like a last resort. Use it to escape. It's just like it's like a get out of jail free card. But the Goblin Slayer used instead of a like defensive and like a retreat style, he used it as a weapon. He weaponized this scroll into a way of a super last resort trump card weapon. And that was just a really cool thing for him when you have something that's like, yeah, if you're in a really bad spot, you can save yourself. But he's just like, I'd rather use it for killing goblins. I mean, that's what I do. And it's just a really cool like switch off for him. But also that line of when he climbs on top of the ogre and the ogre's just like, you would use this absurd weaponized scroll on mere goblins, and the Goblin Slayer is just like, goblins are way more troublesome to deal with than you, and then kills the dude's like cuts his head and just murder like finishes the dude off, finishes off the ogre, and that part was so awesome. It's just one of those like very defining moments, like very defining character moments. You see the goblin sit up there with that cool trailing red eye like glow of his. It's just badass. Like the Goblin Slayer is just so damn cool. So tell me what you think of the chapter below. I like seeing the slice of life stuff blended in with all the madness of of goblin extermination and then a boss fight. I really like seeing the Goblin Slayer, pull out what he's real capable of, and just that response of just like you're not even a goblin. I don't have time to deal with you, ogre guy. It's a little bit funnier in the manga because it talks about like hyping up ogres and how powerful they are, and then he just goes right to the Goblin Slayer, and he's just like, I'm not about this. It kind of reminds me of that scene from One Punch Man when Boros is powering up, and it's just that face where Satan makes. He's like, okay. That's kind of what I got with the Goblin Slayer, and you get I almost forgot something that I wanted to talk about in episode 3 when the elf is talking about how the if the demon lord's armies like finish rising up, they could destroy like all civilizations in the world. And the goblin slayer's just like, before any of that happens, goblins will still be attacking villages, and that's my primary goal, to stop them. And it's just like he doesn't care about the large scale stuff because there's already so many people doing it, but none of the big people are going after the goblins and the small stuff. It's all like inexperienced people. I mean, he's really like the Punisher, like fused with Spider-Man in like dark fantasy anime, because he's helping the little guys because that's the pain that he suffered. Anyway, yeah, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, drop comments below, subscribe to the channel for more Goblin Slayer and other manga and anime stuff. If you like my content, check it out. And if you're subscribed already, I appreciate it. But otherwise, thank you very much for listening.